Hi everyone, welcome back to yet another flexibility series. Today is the third episode of our 7 days flexibility series, and this series is for everyone and anyone who wants to improve their flexibility in your whole body. I guarantee if you follow through the whole 7-day series and do it diligently, you will improve your flexibility compared to when the day you first start. So without further ado, let's go! Today in this series, we're stretching everything from your hip all the way down to your ankle. If you've missed our spinal series and our upper body series, make sure you check the link above. And let's start. Let's just start with a very relaxed position. Lie down on the mat with your knee up. Now, we're gonna start with the hip stretch. So, hug your knee to your chest and just rock them from side to side or to draw a circular motion. Good. We're just gonna start with generic movement. Now, lift up your right leg and we're gonna open that right leg. Hip out and hip in. Just a few times of drawing a big round semicircle with your hip joint. It's going out and going in. Now nothing should be hurting with this exercise. There we go. Good. Now this is just to start mobilizing your hip joint and that's it. Good. Now relax the right leg, lift up the left leg, and again we're gonna open up the left hip and then bring it back. Good. A few more times. Brilliant. And sometimes when people do it, they hear some clicking going on, and when you hear clicking, it might just be that your very tight muscle is just flicking over the bone, or it can actually be a hip joint problems. Most of the time, if it's more a joint problem, you generally will feel a little bit more pain when you do it. Whereas if it's just muscle flicking over your bone, it probably wouldn't cause too much pain. And relax. Good. Bend both legs up. Hook your right ankle over your left knee. Good. Now we're gonna push the right knee down towards the floor and we're gonna hug the left leg up. And then we're just gonna pull and hold. Now you should feel a stretch right at the back of your hip here. And this is the Piriformis Stretch. We're gonna hold that there for 30 seconds. How's everyone doing today? It's quite an easy day here today in Melbourne. Good. Hold it. Feel that stretch. Good. And relax. Good. Now we're gonna swap leg. So with your left ankle over to your right knee, push the left knee down and hugging the right leg up towards your chest. And again, we're gonna hold that stretch there. Just relaxing into that stretch. Breathe through that stretch. If you feel quite an intense stretch, try to relax into it rather than trying to resist against it. Take a few more deep breaths and you'll find that it will start to ease off. And relax. Now, keeping that knee bent and bring your heels together. And now we're gonna flip down knee outwards into this butterfly position. Now, you can use your hand to push the thigh down and feel the stretch on your inner thigh, or you can just let gravity do the work and just let your leg drop to the side of your body. Feel the stretch on the inner thigh, open up the hip and hold it there. Keep trying to push it a little bit further down towards the floor, making sure your back is nice and flat, that you're not arching your lower back, keeping them flat and pushing the knee down towards the floor. Good, and bringing your leg back. Now we're gonna bring our leg to shoulder width apart again. Now this time around, we're gonna hook our finger onto our big toe on both legs, and we're gonna open up the hip into a happy baby pose. Just hold that there for a few seconds. Open up your hip as far as you can, keeping it in that position. After a few seconds, we're going to try to stretch the knees out and point the feet up towards you. Now, if you find that you can't straighten fully, if you can just straighten to as far as you can, as long as you feel the stretch, that's good enough. Yeah? But try to squeeze the front of your thigh and point your toes up towards you to feel the maximum stretched. And we hold. Very good. Now you should feel the stretch on both your hamstring, or sometimes if you have nerve tightness, you should feel it on your calf here and also your inner thigh. Grab it and drop them to as low as you can towards the floor, straightening the front of the knee. The front of the knee is constantly tense. Good, to give you the maximum stretch. Very good. And we bring it. Bend your knees again. Good. Let go of your hand and come back into crook lying position. Well done. Good. Now straighten your knee, both of them. Now we're gonna stretch your glute muscles now. So we're gonna bring your right knee to the opposite shoulder. So bringing your right knee towards the left shoulder, and we're gonna pull. Now this stretch, you really should be feeling it at the back of your hip here, because we're stretching the glute muscles, which is the bum muscle at the back of your hip. A lot of people who have hip impingement will feel a pinching sensation right at the groin. Now if you feel it at the groin area, this is not the right stretch for you. You're gonna stop doing this stretch because you're pinching right on your hip joint, and that's not good for you, yeah? Whereas for me, I feel it at the back of my hip, then that's correct, okay? So if you do this stretch and you're feeling it at the hip, stop doing them. It's not the correct exercise for you. Hug your knee towards your chest and bring it across to the opposite shoulder. Relax. Good. Now we're gonna do it on the other side. Now if you feel it at the front of your hip, I want you to skip this exercise. Yeah, we're gonna show you some exercise later that are gonna stretch out the front of your hip a little bit. So maybe after doing those stretch, then you come back to this exercise. You might then feel it in the correct area. Okay? Now we're gonna bring the left leg up. Left knee, bring it across to the right shoulder. Again, you should feel this at the back of your hip, not the front of your hip, and then pulling it towards that opposite shoulder, and we hold it. 30 seconds. Yes, a lot of people do this exercise wrong and they thought this is like stretching their groin. No, you're not stretching anything if you feel it in the groin. You're just pinching your joint there. Good. Now we're gonna stretch the front of your hip. So we're gonna come up into a kneeling position. Let's start with, this is my left leg. We're gonna start with the left leg first. Right leg forward, left. Make sure your left hip is directly above your left knee. Yeah? Now this exercise, a lot of people do it wrong by leaning themselves way too far forward and arching their lower back. we are stretching the hip flexor here, and the hip flexor attached to your spine. So if you arch your lower back, then you're not stretching the hip flexor anymore. What you're gonna do with this stretch, you don't actually, a lot of people don't even have to lean forward, really. All you need to do is just keep your hip on top of your knee. And you're gonna squeeze the hip, push your tailbone down, and activate your core so that you have this scooping motion. So instead of arching, we're gonna point the tailbone down towards the floor and scoop them up. And then you should straight away feel a stretch on your hip flexor there. Hold that there for 30 seconds. So that is the hip flexor stretch. And if the exercise just now is causing pinching pain right at the groin, try this stretch first before you move on. Go back to that stretch just now. A lot of people who sits a lot, whether they're driving a lot or just sitting in the chair a lot, tend to have very, very tight hip flexor. And very tight hip flexor can very commonly lead to lower back pain problems. So this stretch is an excellent one for a lot of people to start doing. Good. Now we're gonna swap legs. So right leg, left leg forward, and instead of leaning forward, that's not what we want, you're gonna stay where you are and just tuck your hip in and then feel that stretch. I mean, a lot of people think that just tucking, they don't feel the stretch, but trust me, if you do it correctly and you're tucking it correctly, you will definitely feel it. Because no matter how flexible you are, I mean, I can do a split and I'm right here. I'm feeling that stretch about 7 or 8 out of 10, right? So if you do this technique correctly, you will definitely feel the stretch. And if you don't, you probably don't have that tucking mechanism correct, or you don't have the control to flatten that lower back as much yet. So practice it. Now the next stretch is called a frog stretch. Come into a kneeling position. You want to come down onto your elbow. And all you're doing is then spreading your knees out to the side and then hold that stretch there. You should feel your inner thigh stretching here, yeah? Now, if you find that you can't touch the floor, that's fine. If this is as far as you can go, that's fine. Make sure the only thing is don't lean yourself too far forward where your hip is way too far forward. Bring yourself back and push those knees out and making sure that your hip is almost in line with your knee and not too far off it. And then just hold that stretch there for 30 seconds. You know what, it would be nice? It would be nice if you guys can share your progression with me. So certain exercise that you find it difficult to do, I think it would be good to do a before and after photos to see how much you improve since this series has begun. Share me your posts on your improvement and share me your posts of just you doing the exercise really on our Facebook page there. And it would be nice to show that your hard work pays off, and I would love to see it as well, to see your improvement. I'm always so excited to see people telling me that, you know, their pain is so much better after they try the exercise. It's just so great, so great. Good. Come back up. Good. Now, come back into a kneeling position. Now we're gonna stretch the front of our thigh, your quad stretch. So while you're kneeling in this position, if you find that your knee is particularly vulnerable or painful to be kneeling on, you can fold your yoga mat into two and then kneel on it like that. That's fine, yeah? Come into a kneeling position, making sure that your hip is directly above your knee. Try to bring your heel up, grab it with your leg, and then you're gonna tuck your hip forward and then feel the stretch at the front of your thigh. This one is stretching your quads muscle. Hold it there for 30 seconds. Now, if you find one hand quite difficult, you can always use both hands to grab it like that. And if you find that you just can't go as far and your hand can't grab your ankle or your foot, I'll show you how you can use either a string or a yoga stripe, or just a towel to help you do this exercise. Good, we're gonna turn the other way around, and this time around I'll show you guys with the yoga stripe how to do it, yeah? Some strut over your ankle, and you're just gonna relax your hamstring and then pull the ankle up as far as you can. So if you're relaxing into the stretch, you won't feel it on your hamstring too much. Whereas if you are tensing up into the pain too much or into the stretch too much, that's when the hamstring generally spasm up. So try to relax yourself into the stretch rather than fighting against it. Now relax the back of your knee. Don't tense up into the stretch. Relax into the stretch, and we're just gonna hold that there for 30 seconds. You should feel it right at the front of your thigh. Good. And use your core to try to balance. There. Everything should be nice and relaxed. Nothing should be too tense while you're doing stretches. And relax. Now the next exercise is our hamstring stretch, and because we already have our yoga stretch, let's just continue doing them. Lying down on the floor with a towel or a yoga strap around your foot or ankle, doesn't really matter. You're gonna pull the stripe up, making sure your leg is nice and straight, so squeeze that front of your thigh and pull the legs up. Now if you feel it at the back of your leg, you are feeling the hamstring stretch. Now a lot of people do this exercise by pulling their feet up towards your face, and you don't actually feel it at the back of the leg anymore, you feel it at the calf. Now that is not a hamstring stretch. That means your hamstring is not tight, but your nerve is actually tight, yeah? And today we're not actually stretching your nerve, today we're stretching your hamstring muscles. So what I want you to do, if you feel it in your calf, point your toe and then do it again, and you then should feel it more on the back of your leg rather than the calf, yeah? We'll have a series later in the next couple of weeks purely talking everything about nerve stretch, but for today we're doing just muscle stretch, okay? Now if you feel it in your calf, just holding it is not how you stretch your nerve, yeah? So I want you to release off that tension and then point your toe up towards the ceiling and pull it up, and you should feel it at the back of your leg instead, okay? Good. Swap legs. But if you feel it just at the back of your hamstring, then that's perfect, because that's where we want you to feel it. Squeeze the front of your thigh and hold that stretch there for 30 seconds. Straighten your legs and pull. Feel that stretch. Relax. So we stretched the hip, we stretched the thigh, and now let's move on to our ankles. A lot of people struggle with just ankle mobility, so we're going to start off with exactly in this position. So I want you to kneel and then slowly lean back and just sit back and feel the stretch at the front of your ankle. A lot of people who haven't been practicing this will find that the front of the ankle is super tight, super tight. Keep practicing. Sometimes sitting in this position for too long, your legs will get numb too if you're not used to it, and that's okay. That's normal. When I first start yoga, that happens to me as well. Keep practicing, it gets better. Now, people who is doing like performance arts where you need to point your foot, then you really need this front of your ankle mobility. And come back up. Then we're gonna stretch out your soleus muscle. See that? We're coming into a kneeling position where I want you to put your foot right in line with your knee. And we're just gonna sit back and lean your whole body weight forward, keeping the heel on the floor. And you should feel the stretch at the back of your calf. Lean forward, put weight on it, and just hold. Now calf have two muscles, yeah? The outer layer and the inner layer. So this stretch is trying to stretch the inner layer of your calf muscles. We're gonna go around, do the same thing on the other side, making sure your ankle is in line with your knee, sink back into a kneeling position, and then put your weight and lean forward. Now, this stretch, you should feel it at the back of your calf, but if you feel it at the front of your ankle that's blocking you, that's okay. That just means that it's not really your calf muscle that's limiting your range, it's more so your joint. Okay, so if you feel it at the back of your calf, I want you to push forward and hold. If you feel it at the front of the ankle though, we're gonna do a little bit of pulsing motion. So you're gonna pulse, push and let go, push and let go, push and let go. And what we're trying to do is to mobilize that front of your ankle joint to get it a bit more mobile. And we're gonna hold it there for at least 30 seconds or pulse it for at least 30 seconds to a minute long. So depending where you feel, the stretch technique is gonna be a little bit different. Good, and relax. Now we're gonna come up into standing. So now we're gonna stretch out the outer layer of our calf. So move one leg forward and one leg back, and we're stretching the back leg right now, okay? You want to make sure that your ankle is not twisting out like that. They're facing nice and forward, and press your heel down, and all you're doing is bending the front leg and moving your whole body forward in that direction. And you should feel the back of your ankle, or the back of your leg starts to feel a stretch, then that's the calf stretch. Straighten your knee, hold that there. So we're gonna hold this for a minute. Now a lot of people actually ask me to do a follow along exercise, just like a lot of channel out there, like the fitness channel, like Fitness Blend or like Chloe Ting, where they just do the exercise and you follow along. And the only reason that I'm not very willing to do an exercise like that is I feel like there is already a lot of them out there, and what's different about this channel is I can actually share my knowledge with you guys. Just having all these talking you through the exercise, where you should really feel it. If you don't feel it, what should you do? That's how it's different from the other channel, right? So you're gaining more knowledge on yourself and you're understanding your body a little bit more, and you actually know when you're actually doing the technique wrong. I think that is the key that I want people to take away from this channel, is you're not just doing the exercise, but you're gaining knowledge together as you're doing the exercise. So that's why I don't just want to do a follow along with no explanation, because then that makes my channel no any different from any other fitness channel out there, and you guys won't learn along with me. So swap side, turn around, keep your ankle nice and straight, heels to the floor, straighten your knee, and bend your front knee forward. Back knee is straight, front knee is bent, feel it at the back of your leg, and we're stretching the calf muscle. Again, we're gonna hold it for a minute. Now, why are we holding this muscle longer than the other muscle group where we're only holding for 30 seconds? Technically speaking, all the other muscles you can hold it for 30 seconds, you can hold it for a minute as well. But with calf, because we use it all the time and we're walking on it all the time, it just is a bit better if we hold it a bit longer, because generally calf muscle is a lot tighter than a lot of other groups of muscle, because we walk on our feet all day. forward and relax. Now this concludes our stretch series for our lower body. I hope you enjoy it. Make sure you do them every day for the next 2 weeks, because I guarantee you, if you start today and you do it straight for the next 2 weeks, all the exercise that you find difficult to do, you will certainly see some improvement by 2 weeks time. And like I said, share with me your progression. Take a picture in day 1 and then take a picture again in day 14 and show me the difference and share it with me on our Facebook page. I would love to see them. This is all I have for you today. Until next time. See ya. Bye.